Greetings, ladies and gents, and welcome to today's Reddit Quickie from the subreddit HFY, called The List, written by Regal Legal Eagle. The link to the original will be down below, and as always, I hope that you enjoy. I looked down at the grocery list carefully, examining each item as though it would be involving the cure for some rare disease, or possibly save my life in time. Because when you have to travel this far to get to the grocery store, you make sure you know everything you need to get. There was a time when a person could simply walk to the corner to buy groceries, inconceivable by today's standards. So, when you went shopping, you went in prepared. Satisfied with the list, I began to spin up the engines on the old scrap heap. The first 2 times they began to spin before whining and dying out as the electromagnetics failed to kick in. I know I needed to replace them, but like everything else on my station, the engines were mostly held together with duct tape and crazy glue, so making sure that I had enough to eat came first. Yes, getting enough to eat. We could jump across systems in minutes or hours depending on how fast our ride was. We could extend our lives double or even triple what was normal. We could manipulate the very building blocks of the universe. But we still had to eat. This was a concept not lost on the corporate types, and so for as far as we came, we were still slaves to the age-old invention, the supermarket. The scrap heap had made it up to cruising speed, and I was watching the traffic as we narrowed in on the same destination. I could see a bunch of pirates trying to latch onto a freelance merchant sow, but they were fighting back from the looks of things. Knowing that it was time to prepare, I activated the defensive mode. The scrap heap might not look like much, but that was mostly by design. The armor plating slid into position and sealed up the ship as the anti-boarding current ran through the exterior coils. Offensive weapons weren't allowed this close normally, but I wasn't taking any chances as I got close. I could see it on the sensors, but not quite. There it was. Planet Kroger. Technically, this was a planetoid, but still. It was a feat of human engineering that was made to seem less impressive by having one on every decently populated system. But no mistake, every single one was a testament to the human ability to consume. 8 billion chickens. Do you know how much space 8 billion chickens takes up? I don't, but someone in that planetoid does, because they've got at least that many in the depths of that rock somewhere, pecking and living out, hatching, growing, laying eggs, dying, and becoming one for the fresh roasted rotisserie chickens, all without ever leaving the core. Hell of a life. But for those 75 cents per dozen eggs and a full chicken for $4, I was willing to set aside my consideration as well as being the dumb birds. There were rumors that farm fish were raised in the recycled sewer water treatment system inside the store, but you give me $5 a pound of tuna and tell me you raised it in urine and I'll still buy it. The oceans were just fish urine anyway. The hollowed-out core of the planet was a maze of hydro farms, mini pastures, and MC Escher orchards worked by tens of thousands of employees, who likely had a life similar to the cattle and poultry they grew. Of course, they were free to leave at any time, and from what I heard, it wasn't a bad company to work for. But still, it seemed crazy to me. I love open space and the freedom that it entailed. Then again, my ship was called the scrap heap, and looked the part, and a few times that I'd been woken up in the middle of the night, nearly asphyxiated as the oxygen scrubber broke. So, to each their own. As I got closer to the station, I realized that I had a bit of a tail. A hunter. The ship was too new, too nice. When they began to try and press forward and sweep around me, I realized what they wanted. That parking place up ahead right next to the airlock. Not a fricking chance. I knew that I wouldn't be able to outrun them, but I could slow them down. I spun my ship their way, and I hit my aft starboard chaff, spewing out a few bits of junk I strapped to the place, and hopefully nothing that I actually needed. The maneuver worked though, and they peeled off to avoid the debris as I jammed the inertial brakes and swung into the bay. Before the clamps had even sealed to the hull, I was out of the airlock with a burst, letting the explosive decom shoot me across the open space to the main airlock entrance. I wasn't one of the big hoarder types that needed a caravan to haul away their groceries. I was as self-sufficient as I could be, but I needed some essentials that I couldn't get for myself. Especially since my goat died, though she had provided several nice meals after that. Especially the crockpot recipe that I found. She did not go to waste. I waited in the quiet of the vacuum for the doors to rumble shut behind me before the air hissed in and I was in a regular atmosphere. I let my suit start to cycle the resec air of the station rather than my own, but otherwise left everything on. As the door opened, I walked forward under the watchful eye of the security guns. Then Kelly, my virtual Kroger greeter, popped up. "Hello, ma'am, and all sir, and welcome to Planet Kroger 14 in the Orion system." My personal privacy jammer kept it from figuring out who I was or even my gender. I knew that I missed out on the personalized shopping experience, but that was a small price to pay for keeping my identity hidden. Our scanners show that you are equipped with a non-lethal weaponry. While we do acknowledge your legal right to use such devices, we do require... I held up my card then. "Welcome back, preferred shopper 404, name not found. The hacked card had cost me 3 jugs of apple scrug, but it was worth it. So long as you use non-lethal weapons defensively, please enjoy your shopping today." I kept my beam gun holstered against my back so that my stun baton was in my hand as I moved through the store. I didn't expect anything unusual today. Should be a fairly light on crowd since it wasn't any sort of crazy sale, with Red Tuesday behind us. I headed out towards the back since I really was just here for the essentials, and those were always at the back, which meant that I'd have to hop on one of those moving walkways to get me there quicker. I could take the tram, but I always figured I waited around for so long that it wasn't worth it. If I couldn't time it perfectly, it would be faster, but I never quite got it right. Since I had my own hydroponics, I didn't really need anything in the produce section. Or maybe I did. I looked at the deal as I zipped closer to the walkway. 10 pounds of potatoes for $1. 10 whole pounds for $1. $1. 10 pounds. Could I even grow potatoes for that cheap? I dashed off the walkway to grab a bag and clip it onto my harness before getting back on the moving platform. Frick it, for $1 I could get some extra taters. If nothing else, I can make them into booze. As I neared the end of the line for the essentials, I hopped off and found a milk sectors: goat, llama, buffalo, human, LSD-enhanced human, cow. There it is. Whole fat cow's milk, and only $1 for half a gallon. I clipped the jug to the front of my harness and then grabbed myself a box of unsalted butter as well. Not the sweet cream one though. I made that mistake before, just not for me. I began to move towards the meat department, then detouring a bit to get some eggs. Ostrich gator, space T-Rex chicken, there we go. I took one of the special super safe shock absorbing dozen packs, which I clipped to my leg before moving on. At the next opportunity, I hopped onto another moving platform as I looked around for some of the other specials. I hopped off again once I got to the soup section as I began to tuck cans of chicken broth into my harness pouches. Broth could really add a flavor of veggies, and the 34 cents a can, I could get as many as I wanted. I thought about grabbing one of the packets of £1 of Kroger brand saltines, but I think I still have some from last time. Though I did grab 2 cans of biscuits because fresh hot biscuits are amazing. Hopping back on the walkway, I was back on my way towards the meat. I could see the armored employees standing around, just in case. Since the store was so quiet right now, I didn't need to grab a number and just headed to the counter. "What can I do for you?" A smiling butcher behind the counter asked, and I looked over the selection. "Chicken thighs, what's the max?" I asked. "The bone in or the boneless skinless?" "Boneless skinless," I answered and tapped on the display. £10 max, $1.50 a pound. So damn cheap. I was sure that the chicken factory on the core of the planet had to be some sort of sin, but I just couldn't make myself want to end it for these prices. £9, £3 a bag. I ordered and then began to browse. The butcher started to fill my order. Oh, hell yeah, mahi-mahi for $5 a pound. I could do my macadamia-encrusted mahi-mahi recipe. Oh wait, never mind, the macadamians were $16 a pound. I think not. I'd stick to the I can't believe it's not macadamians. Once he wrapped up the package of chicken and handed them over, I tucked them into each pouch. The harness was starting to get full, but I was almost done. Like I'd said, just the essentials. Anything else? He asked, and I nodded to the fish. Give me those 2 steaks there. He nodded and started to pull them out when he heard the claxons start blaring as the emergency sales station to the side began to flash. Attention Paraxian shoppers, we have a sale on 75% off lean ground beef of 89 cents a pound. Follow the flash sale lights to the designated bin. Holy crap, 89 cents a pound. I was going to stock up on that. Oh crap, Paraxians. I turned to the butcher as I saw the look in his eyes. We could already hear the rumble in the background. The fish! Give me the fricking fish! I argued, and he quickly tossed it into the bag, wrapping it up as quickly as he could, but he fumbled a bit. Hurry, damn it! The rumbling was getting closer as he tossed me the pack, and I grabbed it in one-handed, slamming it into the pouch as I ran for the big bin as the butcher brought down the security gate over their section. I reached in and grabbed an armful of packs of ground beef, tucking them into my rucksack as quickly as I could and ignoring the extra ones that fell as I moved in a rush. Maybe I was in time. That's when a horde rounded the corner ahead of me, ravenous penny-pinching fish. One near the front pointed at me, even as I ran. They have some of the sale item. Get them. Freck you, fish face, I screamed as they began to approach. Unslinging my bean gun and blasted the nearest one with one of the heavy bean bags, to send them flying back to the rest of the horde. Even so, they kept running, as I had to pump the gun one-handed while swinging my stun baton with the other hand to keep them back, their fishy hands clawing at me as they got close. And one grabbed a hold of my rucksack, but I gave her a swift smack with the baton and followed it up with a boot to the gut to shove her back before I fired the bean gun into the face of another of them to make them some space. Using the temporary reprieve, I tossed my gun into the air and then reached into the pockets to grab a handful of garlic salt, which I tossed into their faces with a holler. Garlic salt! They hissed and squealed as they backed off, and I grabbed the gun as it fell, hightailing it out of the meat department while I hit the room. I kept up that pace until I got to the bulk spice section and paused to grab some garlic salt container and replenish my stock in my pouch. It was cheaper than pepper spray and just as effective at close range against Paraxians. Plus, I loved garlic salt in general, so it never went to waste. That should be everything. Maybe I'd stop by one of the daily special sections to see what they had. Never knew what you might find. As I neared it, I could smell them before anything else. Then I laughed as I saw a small pen of baby goats bouncing around. It was as if they thought they were just for me. Hell, I even saw one that looked perfect. She had black feet and a bluish-grey coat and a derpy-looking face. But as useful as a goat was, they were too expensive. I needed to save up for a new oxygen scrubber. Hold on a second. $20. I gasped and I stared up at the daily sale sign. $20. $20. 2 tens for a goat. A whole goat. For $20. What was wrong with them? Were they reject goats? I looked around the pen, trying to figure out what the catch was, when the PA came on above me. We'd like to remind shoppers that one of our daily sales of baby goats for $20 is limited. There are only 15 goats left. Freck you, I shouted, as I heard the rumble of Paraxians yet again. Hopped into the pen to grab a goat. I had my eye on them and jumped to the other side of the pen as I ran for the exit. They have a baby goat! Get them! I heard behind me and turned to fire my bean gun once more in the direction of the horde. Thankfully, with my special shopper card, the computer would automatically deduct the cost of my groceries from my account as I ran past the checks register and into the airlock that I'd used to get in. I slammed the button to cycle the lock as I looked back and saw the Paraxians closing in. But then, as the goat bleated, I realized that I was about to expose it to vacuum. Crap! I looked around and grabbed one of the complimentary sealable bags. I pulled off my oxygen tank and pumped it full of air before dropping the goat into it and sealing it up. I had just slammed the tank back into place when the lock finally cycled and the door slammed shut before the lead Paraxian could get inside. With that, I hit the button on the outer door and grabbed the bag with the goat as I leapt off the floor, through space to get back to the scrap heap. The door was still open since I'd left it open to the elements for a faster exfil. Once inside, I turned and slammed my hand on the button to shut the door and pump the main hold with air. I laughed as I stood inside my own ship now, groceries dangling from my harness. I opened up my bag to let the goat out and looked her over as she bounced around my ship. That was a close one there, Boots. No? Flip-flops? You know what? I'm just going to get away with footwear and come back with your name later. I headed to the cockpit and I pulled my list out of my pocket to look it over, confident that I got everything. Milk, eggs, chicken stock, chicken thighs, fish, butter, biscuits. Frick. Vitamin D. I was supposed to swing by the health section. I lived in deep in space inside an asteroid and didn't get nearly enough sunlight or vitamin D. I had made a grocery run, but didn't get it all in one go. Frick! Frick! I looked back at the goat, who just looked at me with a little bleat, her tongue sticking out as she stared at me with a derpy look on her face. And I might have bought a retarded goat. Oh well. I'd restock my gun and unload what groceries I had because it looked like I wasn't done just yet. The Braxians inside would want my head and my sale items if I went back inside, but I'd just have to deal with it because I'd be damned if I'd made 2 trips to the store this week. I racked a beanbag into the chamber as I prepared to reload. Maybe I should get more beanbags too. It was just so hard to not spend so much time in an establishment dedicated to the supremacy of humanity over all things. We turned nature into a factory and could outproduce and outconsume anyone. Hell, we produced meat so cheaply that predators who used to only eat what they personally killed were getting fat and lazy as they watched NASCAR, and herbivores would duke it out inside the store over the cheapest veggies. To say nothing of scavengers who preferred frozen carcasses to fresh ones that they found in the wild. It was our ultimate victory, one thing that humanity made that no one else could top. The supermarket, and I was going back in. And that, my friends, is the end of this Reddit Quickie. I hope that you enjoyed. If you'd like to support the channel or the author, all the stuff is down below. And as always, I hope that you guys have a good one, and I will see you in the next story. Cheers.